Howdy peeps, and welcome back to the channel on what is a, well, pretty horrific day really. Over here in the east of England we got howling gales, as it were, and absolutely hissing down with rain. We're supposed to get a month's rainfall in 24 hours, so that's going to be interesting. So what better place to be than sat in the warm, in the man cave, working on some models. So back onto Red Riding Hood, Nuts Planet. I think it's the third part. And in the last part, we'll move the box out of the way. I tried to remember what I did. I added a first layer of a shade or wash to the leather parts and started picking out the metallic. I painted the little short sword, and I also went ahead, painted the daggers on her belt, the emblem, whatever it is on the front for her knickers, or vajazzle, whatever it is, and I also added the metal on the main sword blade, and we had got the it was the Druchii Violet wash airbrushed onto the cloak. So again, we'll go back and we'll start with the cloak again, as it's going to take a while to dry, as we're going to go with a wash of Carroburg Crimson. I say a wash, it's not really a wash when you spray it on there, but it's, oh, smack that camera about sharp. It's there to deepen the colours and add more richness. So airbrush again, which I'm going to have to untangle because it's wrapped around the camera stand. There we go. I'll remember to clean it out this time. Spray out that little bit of airbrush cleaner I always leave in there when I remember to clean it out. Shake up, as I say, the Carroburg Crimson, so it's a dark red shade. I will be using other stuff than purely just Games Workshop during this. We only need a couple of drops. Okay, probably way too much. Yeah. Never mind. There's plenty of it in a jar. Now for this, because last time we sprayed kind of upwards to get the violet more into the recesses and the sunken detail, pick out the shadows. This time we're going to go from above to get the difference in tone. So we'll just check we've got some coming through. There's the Model T in the background, and on the inside gives it the nice sort of deep maroon red kind of colour. I mean, when you bear in mind that wasn't actually painted red, that was just painted black, and then it's had a couple of the shades over it, and the outside done as well. So we'll pop that down there to dry, and we'll just blow the excess wash through the airbrush. If you're worried about wasting paint, you can obviously tip it straight back into the pot, but what is, let's be honest, a couple of drops of a wash or shade that's going to last me donkey's years, I'm not overly worried about it. The paint will probably dry out or go off way before I actually run out of it, so we'll just tip that out. And we'll leave a bit of water in there. And I will remember to clean the airbrush out after I finish this video, he says. Now we grab, ooh, don't want him in there. So the little scabbard and the arm and the sword. Arm, sword, falchion, dagger, short sword, whichever you want to call it. There is going to be a technically correct term and a technically incorrect term, but hey ho. And now, having another quick shake. Null oil. It's a black shade wash. This is something that every modeler should have in their arsenal. It's just endlessly useful. Anything metal, whether it be undercarriage, guns, whatever it is, whatever you're building, this stuff just works. So, let's say, just going gentle because we don't want to darken the whole thing up too much. This is more just about running around the details. Now the cross brace or guard on the sword we will be painting golden later on, as it shows on the box art. But, so we're not going to wash that quite yet. And so this isn't a finished article by any means. This is just adding, again, more textures, tones, helping to pick out the detail, the scratches and dings in the blade. And once we're done, we'll then come back over it with a highlight, which will probably be the, what would I use? Probably go with the Necron. What's it called? Necron Compound, that's it, which is basically a very, very thick silvery paste paint. It's a Games Workshop one again, designed to be used purely for dry brushing, and it does an awesome job. Now, as I don't particularly want to get that anywhere near the flesh, I'll pop that away for now. So what I'll do is off camera is I'll run the same wash over the metal areas on Red Riding Hood herself. Now for the flesh, the skin bits, I'm going to go with Reikland Flesh Shade. Now they do this in two varieties. They do this, which is the matte version. They also do the gloss version, which I've got somewhere. There we go. Oh. Identical, just one's gloss, one isn't. They're the same colour. Oh, I think the gloss one may be slightly more reddish in hue. Now for this we're going to need, that's going to white things out badly, but hey ho, you just got to see what I'm doing. Now because on a 28mm scale figure, this stuff's great. Once you start going up the sizes, it gets too obvious. Let's go with that one. So just get a bit of it, snap the lid back on, and what should we thin it with? So we're not thinning it as such as we are just diluting it, so we'll just go with a couple of drops of airbrush thinner, or cleaner, yeah, thinner this one, sorry, UMP thinner, and we'll just swirl it around and mix it up. Now this one we are going to have to be a tad more precise with, because we don't want to give her an all over tan. So we're going to be back to the smaller brush. And as I say, yes, I know I use very small brushes. Most people wouldn't even touch a 5-0. But it works for me. So the first thing we're going to do is run it around all of the edges of the clothing and over on any sort of creases or recessed details, just to pick them out, get a bit of instant shading going on. Because we thinned it, it will just run around the edges, same as doing a pin wash on a tank or a plane, except once this one dries you won't be able to get it off again. As her bum's not going to be visible, I'll just cover her cheeks with it. So this may well turn out to be too fine, too light, not stand out enough. In which case, it's easy enough to come back and give it another coat. Come and do it again. If it is too subtle. And remember, it's always easier to add more paint if you need to. It's a lot harder to take it away. You might be able to see it's actually creeping around. You know what? I'm going to try and zoom in and see if I can keep her in shot. Right, so somewhere around there then. So if I don't move my left hand, we're going to be in shot. That sounds a good plan to me. Yeah, we're going to be going over the entirety of all of the edges and any recesses on the flesh. So because I've thinned this, diluted it, I should say really, because it's not been thinned, because it was the consistency of water anyway. But yeah, because it's been diluted, it flows so much better, especially with using the airbrush thinner rather than water. It breaks down the surface tension, so it doesn't tend to pool as much either. Which is something you can find with washes like this. If you use them straight out of the pot, sometimes they will pull quite they will quite happily pull, usually where you don't want them. And just add a bit around the back, even though the back of her legs aren't visible. And get rid of it. Run a bit around the front of the bra, bustier, whatever it is. And down the cleavage. Got to pay close attention to the cleavage, obviously. And I am only just in shot. See, I said I'd try not to move my left hand. It's just a habit that when you're doing fine detail work, you pull the thing towards you. Because this is such a crisp moulding, casting moulding as well, the wash is basically going where it should do on its own. It's not really taking much effort, as it were, on my part to get it to run around where I want it to. So the face, we do have to be a little more careful. We don't end up with any pooling in areas we don't necessarily want it. But as the face is mainly in shadow, it's not too much of a problem. And the bit around the mouth just helps us to pick out where we're going to be putting the other detail later on. Gives us that slight change in tone. And then onto the hand, we're running down between the fingers. And that's someone trying to get me to reclaim PPI or some such thing on the phone. Oh, almost forgot the belly button. Quick brush lick to maintain the point. Not that she's got much of a belly button anyway. And around the top of the other boot. Now I'm thinking this is going to need a little more to accentuate the contrasts, but as I said, I'd rather do a second coat than have to try and get rid of it. So while that's drying, a quick check on the time, and I will start picking out the detail on the boots with this is the brown wash that I used on the darker leather, but I'm now going to apply it not all over but just into the shadows and details of the lighter leather. If I can get it open with one hand, I can't. Let's just pop that out of shot. Put that in shot. And as I said, this isn't a difficult thing to do. It's just down to a steady hand, good light and eyesight really, and practice. So you can get away with a lot more on a smaller scale, on a 35th scale or 48th scale. You can just paint it, base colours, give it a wash, give it a dry brush, job done. Once you start going up in the scale and the details are getting, how can I put it, crisper, so from further away you can see what it's supposed to be and what it looks like. You do have to be a little more careful and build these things up. So this might be a bit dark, but we can soon go over it with another wash of the flesh wash, and that will pull this darker brown back a bit. For very little effort really, just as long as it's dry before you do it, otherwise you end up with pools of randomly mixed coloured washes which don't look good. As I said, I mean, I can, hand on heart say, I'm no figure painting expert. To be honest, I haven't got a clue what I do. I tend to make it up as I go along. It's not like I'm sitting here going, this is the technique for this is the colour for this. I look at it and go by eye. As my eyes are shonky and wonky and I'm getting old, that might not be the best of ideas. But hey, what's the worst that can happen? Repaint. Which, if you're enjoying it, isn't really too much of a big ask. It's not like it's a tritone camo on a tank or something like that where you, well, I've done it where you spray the final camo colour, you pull the masking off and it looks absolutely horrible. And you're like, yep, that was the wrong colours. It might have been the right colours according to the colour call out, but it just looks nasty. With these, you can also rub the excess off as well with your fingers if you need. There's not too much on the sheath there, so we'll just add a bit into that crack and smear the rest off. And that'll do for the, if I bring her up closer and let it focus, you'll be able to see where we are with the boots. I might give those another coat of the flesh wash just to tone the darker brown down a little. So it does look a bit more stark to my eye than it does to the camera. Other than that, it would just be picking out the straps and the buckles and the buttons on them. And I'll do a similar thing with the darker leather. I will, find a darker, hold her in shot. I'll find a darker brown wash, possibly black, or part and part with the black and the brown mixed together, and then again go over it, and then when we get to it we'll be dry brushing. So I think for now, can you actually see her face? There you go. For now that'll do us, and we'll be back in the next part once all this has dried. So see you then. Enjoy your modelling. Peace out. Rock on. Bye bye.